CNN breaking news.
This just in, U.S. citizens Kenneth Bae and Matthew Todd Miller have been freed from detention by North Korea. This according to the U.S. government.
This is huge news coming, of course, off Jeffrey Full's release just a couple of weeks ago. CNN's Evan Perez is joining us now live with the latest. Evan, there has been such a campaign, particularly to get Kenneth Bae home. What do you know?
That's right. The Director of National Intelligence just announced just a little while ago that that he was bringing these two Americans home. We don't know a lot more about the circumstances of the release, how long this has been in the works, but we do know that they're on their way home, which is obviously very, very big and happy news for the families of these two Americans.
We also heard, right, that there's another nation involved that was helping to sort of negotiate and facilitate?
Well, yes, we're not sure what exactly how this all came down. We know that the Americans have been working with some of the neighbors there, including China and the South Koreans, to try to get anything they can any assistance they can get to try to get these two Americans home. And as you know, this has always been something of a trick for the North Koreans, because they demand all kinds of things before they can try to make any concessions to the U.S. So I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more from this. I've got some calls in to some officials to try to get a little bit more of the story, the backstory of what this happened.
All right, Evan, hey, thank you. Stay with us here. I want to go to Elise Lavitt. Elise, we talked to you a lot when Jeffrey Full was released just a couple of weeks ago. What do you make of this latest news that Kenneth Bae and Matthew Todd Miller are on their way home?
I think it's very significant, Christy. I mean, listen, this obviously comes amid a period of a lot of activity by North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. This came on the heels of the release of Jeffrey Fowl a few weeks ago. And basically, North Korea has been really trying to make overtures to the international community. There's been a lot of diplomatic activity because of a recent human rights report that just came out, basically talking about North Korea's human rights report, human rights record, and calling for it to be referred to the International Criminal Court. And why is that serious? Because the regime feels that a lot of its criticism has come from the U.S., but this would be a whole international community really talking about North Korea's human rights record, and what they're really afraid of is opening up to the world and the future of the regime, and this could be a threat to the regime. So I think this is very interesting. Kenneth Bae, Korean-American missionary, sentenced to 15 years hard labor in 2013. He was working 8 hours a day, 6 hours a week. His family was so worried about him. Matthew Todd Miller basically tore up his visa at the North Korean border and said he was going to seek asylum. No one really knew what was going on with him, but they knew that they needed to get these people out, because not only for their families and themselves, and Kenneth Bae was in poor health, but also because they felt that this was an impediment to really having a dialogue with North Korea about its human rights record, about its nuclear program. North Korea was using them as a chip. I think the fact that the head of the Director of National Intelligence traveling to North Korea to get it, I think that obviously the North Koreans wanted someone senior to come there, and I think it's very significant.
At least real quick, why didn't they let them go several weeks ago when they let the American then? Why not let all three go at the same time?
Well, I mean, Matthew Todd Miller, I can't really say, but Kenneth Bae was really the kind of card that they were holding. And they want, the North Koreans are master negotiators, and they wanted to get as much out of this as they can. At first they basically called up the United States a few weeks ago and said, come get Jeffrey Fowl, send an American plane. They had a lot of instructions, and the United States followed them because they wanted to get Jeffrey Fowl out. But this, I don't know exactly what happened, and obviously we'll be talking to sources and getting more details. But this has been in the works for a little bit, because the United States was very mum about what happened with Jeffrey Fowl. Why were they mum? Because they said, look, we have two others and we want to preserve the ability to get them out. And we knew at that time that there was something in the works. So there have obviously been some quiet conversations going on. And the North Koreans really wanted to get a lot of bang for their buck out of Kenneth Bay, and releasing all three of those hostages at that time didn't really do that for them.